Hey guys, how's it going? So today's video is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time now, and that is basically to talk about how to make a proper good action scene. This is going to be an absolutely in-depth breakdown. This is about as in-depth as one can get when talking about action scenes, and if this is not for you, then just feel free to click back, but if you're still here, then let's get started. So I'm going to be breaking this video down into 5 specific parts and 5 specific aspects in how to make a good action scene. I feel like number 5 is probably the most important, so I'm going to save that for last. You can skip to there if you want. But starting off at number 1 is the actual filming of the scene and the choreography. And a lot of people tend to think, you know, it's all about the filming or it's all about the choreography. But in my opinion, I feel like it's all about the balance of these two. Now, I want to address something that a lot of people probably have experienced before, and that is shaky cam. Shaky cam is when you film an action scene and you shake the camera an awful lot to make a more immersive feeling action scene, and for lazy action filmmakers to hide the fact that it's a stunt double and not the actual actor doing the action scene. Shaky cam has only been used well by one director, and that is Paul Greengrass, director of the Bourne movies, and there have been many directors who have been guilty of using excessive shaky cam. Olivier Megaton, the director of the Taken movies, is the main suspect. He edits his movies to shit. He can't direct action at all because he just cuts and uses too much shaky cam. To demonstrate how shaky cam actually works, this is me walking like how you would normally film a good action scene. This is what shaky cam feels like when you're filming an action scene or watching one. 2 movies that I think are very, very good at filming smooth, silky action are John Wick and Captain America the Winter Soldier. I'm going to play you a clip from both of these movies. Then I'm going to play you a clip from Taken 3, which I think uses shaky cam far too excessively and to an extent that is just unbearable. And I want you to see which one is easier to follow, which one looks better, and which one looks more sophisticated and just better. You see what I mean? Secondly, I want to talk about the choreography. Now, what I mean by choreography is the stunt work and the fight training. That is choreography. Now, a movie that showcases a lot of good stunt work and a lot of great choreography is Assassin's Creed. But Assassin's Creed fails to actually put that on film. What I mean by that is, I'm going to show you a scene from Assassin's Creed. And in that scene, Michael Fassbender is riding a horse while chasing this carriage. It's pretty good. It's pretty well filmed, it looks nice, and you can pretty much see where everything is. But as the scene goes on, you can see that you're pretty much looking at the same action scene from like 100 different angles. This makes it a lot more confusing and extremely unnecessary when making a simple chase scene. Now I'm going to show you a movie that showcases a lot of great action choreography, but actually manages to show that to the audience and translate that great choreography on screen. The Raid. Look at this fight scene. It's a lot smoother, it's a lot simpler. You're just sticking the camera right there, a couple of quick cuts, but not anything too excessive, and it looks great. Now, the second aspect of making a good action scene is making the audience pay a lot more attention to your scene, giving them a lot more immersion, and making them concentrate on the scene a lot more. A great example of this is the skyscraper scene in one of the best directed James Bond movies I've ever seen, Skyfall. Now, other than looking absolutely beautiful, which is another way of getting your audience's attention, this scene builds on a lot of tension. But the best thing is, it's extremely simple. They just put the camera there and they let these two guys fight. Also, the fact that you can only see the shapes of their bodies makes it even easier to use a stunt double if required, but Daniel Craig does most of his own stunts. But the best thing about this scene and how it makes the audience more attentive and more concentrated on the scene is the fact that both of these characters are completely blacked out. You cannot see which one is which means you're paying a lot more attention. You're trying to see where Daniel Craig is, where 007 is. It's a lot harder to keep up with the action, but that means you're concentrating a lot more, and without knowing, you are actually paying a lot more attention to the movie. That is genius filmmaking from director Sam Mendes, and brilliant direction of action. Now for part 3, you need to carry the story forward. Now let's compare the original Star Wars trilogy to the prequel trilogy. Every time a lightsaber fight breaks out in the prequel trilogy, the movie grinds to a halt, just so you can see the lightsaber fight. In the original trilogy, every time there's a lightsaber fight, you see the characters developing, you learn more about the characters in the fight. For example, when Obi-Wan and Darth Vader are fighting in A New Hope, you see Obi-Wan being more in tune with the Force and sacrificing his life, which shows Darth Vader as this merciless killer and makes Luke a lot more humble. Or when the Empire Strikes Back fight, you see that Darth Vader's toying with Luke. He can easily beat Luke, but he doesn't want to because he wants to bring out the dark side in Luke. And he wants Luke to join him. And this is also building up to what is arguably the biggest plot reveal of all time. Now, compare this to the prequel trilogy.
Why would they do this?
The movie completely stops for these fights, and it does not carry the story forward. You do not learn anything more about the characters. It does not do an effort to humanize any of these characters or make them feel more believable. It's just fighting. It's just substanceless, tensionless fighting. And that is not how to make a good action scene. Now, part 4 is extremely important, and that is the hero. You need to make your hero feel extremely relatable, extremely believable, and someone who you can root for. When you're watching an action scene, you should be gripping your fists and trying to root for the hero because you're scared of what's going to happen to him, not looking at your watch to check the time. Now, I want to talk quickly about John McClane, arguably one of the best action heroes ever. Now, in the first Die Hard movie, we see his fears. We see that he's just a man who doesn't like getting on planes. He has problems with his family. The only reason he's in LA is because he wants to make amends for his problems with his family. He doesn't want to fight Alan Rickman, but he's there, and you know, it's the last thing he has. It's the last thing everyone in the Nakatomi Plaza actually has, which is why we root for him so much, why we want him to succeed so much. Now compare this to A Good Day to Die Hard, which is the worst Die Hard movie by a mile. He's an asshole who's driving cars over other cars, he's punching pedestrians. There's nothing likable, there's nothing relatable about him whatsoever. Another good use of the hero is Neo from The Matrix. Keanu Reeves does such a great job of making his character feel like this guy who just doesn't really have anything. He leads a boring life, he's just irrelevant. But when he becomes this hero, when he becomes like the chosen one, right, the one, it's so incredibly satisfying and you feel so good for him because of what you've seen him do in the past, because you actually care about him. Now, part 5 is by far the most important part when it comes to making a good action scene or an action movie, and that is making your hero feel vulnerable. What I mean by that is you need to see your hero at his low point. Some examples of this are when, you know, Batman gets psychologically defeated by the Joker or physically defeated by Bane, and he sort of comes back from that. But the best example of this is one of my favourite movies of all time, Casino Royale. Now, the reason that 007 in Casino Royale is, in my opinion, the best version of 007 is because we see him as a human. We see him grounded, we see him make mistakes. we see his low points. For example, when he gets poisoned by Le Chiffre, he almost dies, but he survives because Vesper comes to help him. But the scene that shows the vulnerability of the hero by far the most is, you know, the scene, the torture scene. You know what I'm talking about. I'm going to show it right now. Now, this is some Oscar-worthy acting by Daniel Craig, okay? But that's not what makes this scene amazing. What makes this scene amazing is it shows James Bond, which is previously a character who's always been able to talk his way out of something or has a gadget in his secret third pocket or whatever. Daniel Craig can't get out of this. We see him at his lowest point. He's completely fucked. But he, again, the hero that we root for, the hero that we care about, manages to come back because he finds his wits, he finds his will, and he ultimately succeeds. But we see how hard he worked in order to succeed. We see what happens to him. Like I said before, when Batman got his back broken by Bane, we see him learn more about how to beat this guy. We see his path of redemption. We see him climb that prison and comes back to Gotham to beat Bane ultimately. But he doesn't just beat Bane in the very beginning of the movie, he beats Bane at the end because we've seen his character progress and develop, and we've seen his low points and his vulnerable side, which is why we root for him and we feel so good when he does succeed. And that is ultimately the one goal we need to see when making a superhero movie. You need to make your character feel vulnerable so that when he succeeds, it not only makes him or her feel good, but it also makes the audience feel this sense of accomplishment. And that, guys, is how you make a good action scene or movie. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.